Once you have your
Hi everyone, it's Stacy with Sew Steady here, and we are live. We are going to be sharing with you the amazing butterfly dresser scarf paper piecing class by Pam Barner. So for all of you club members out there, if you have your amazing Elevate Club boxes, then you have this project. This is a project that Pam created as a paper piecing project for your boxes. And today, oh, hi, Pam. Today, because we are going to try to keep this at an hour, we are going to be focusing this class on the ruler quilting of that project. If you are a club member, then we want you to know that we need to get you logged into the university class, which is what everyone gets when you get your box, and you can watch the paper piecing video class on your club registration. So if you're a Ruler Box member, it's on your Ruler Club registration. If you're an Embroidery Club member, you can watch it on your Embroidery Club registration, but that class is available for you on either one of those to be able to watch the paper piecing portion. Today, we're going to be focusing on the ruler quilting portion. Is that right, Pam?
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and have Pam here to answer any questions for you. And we're going to have her take it away. We'll go, we're going to have that class go ahead and go now. And we'll pause if there's any burning questions that we want to make sure to answer. Otherwise, we can answer some of those questions at the end of the live today or throughout in the messaging. So thank you all so much for being here, and we're going to go ahead and play your video now. Thank you.
butterflies pieced, you then add a plain square in the middle. So sew it to one side of the butterfly, then sew this to the other butterfly. Then you add your borders, add the top and the bottom borders first, and then add your right and left borders. After that, you can sandwich it and we'll get ready to quilt this. I found a piece of batting that just barely fits. I don't recommend that. I always recommend something this small. I would go at least an inch and a half outside, but this isn't going to be heavily quilted, so I think we're going to be okay. I have set my machine up for ruler work. I'm using a 40 weight variegated thread in both the bobbin and the needle. I'm using a size 80 needle. It's a top stitch needle, and I have my ruler foot on. Everything else is set up for ruler work. I have my feed dogs lowered, and I also set my stitch length to 0. That's just what I do. I'm going to start by quilting the body of the butterfly, and for that I'm going to use the Butterflies in Flight, and I'm going to use the smallest oval. So you get 3 ovals with this template. You get 2 on the template itself, and then you also have a larger oval that's inside the butterfly, and you could also use the outside of this oval to create a larger one. So actually you get 4 ovals. And I'm going to use the smallest one. It just barely fits in here, and I'm going to do 3 ovals. I'm going to start kind of near the top. I'm putting the edge of the template. Let me find my stiletto so I can point these things out to you. I'm using the edge of the template here and lining it up with the top of the body. I have stable tape on both sides of my template, and you'll see why when I create the butterfly itself. So I'm going to pull my threads, and I'm going to stitch, well, I'm going to start down here. I'm going to pull my thread down here. I thought I was going to pull my thread. There it is. Okay. I'm going to take a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around, creating this little tiny oval. And that's not exactly in the center. I didn't get it centered left to right. Now I'm going to move down, and I'm going to take just a couple of stitches. Well, no, I'm just going to do it here. And now this one I have to do 1.5 times. And I got this one centered. And then come down and do another one. And I can only fit 3. And that's okay. And then I'm just going to lock my threads. You could bury them if you wanted to, but I'm just going to lock them. It's a table scarf. It's not going to get a lot of use. Like, it's not going to be washed a lot is what I meant. So there we have just the center. And now I'm going to do the rest of the butterfly. So I'm going to start with my straight edge of my 12-inch arc. I'll get my butterfly out of my way here. And I'm going to stitch in the pink part, and I'm going to stitch in the ditch along here and down like that. So I'm going to have to get out my spacing gauge. And I'm going to pull my thread here. I'm outlining the entire pink part. And I'm stitching in the ditch. So I'm using my 1/4 inch on my spacing gauge, and that'll get me right in the ditch. And now I'm going to stitch out. Let me move this so you can see. Well, also so I can see. Make sure I'm in the ditch down there. And then I'm going to stitch along here in the ditch. And I'm off. There we go. Because this is a thread that contrasts with what I've got going on here, you're going to see it. It's not going to sink in, disappear, which is nice. I like that. And then I'm going to come down here. And I'm going to stitch over this, so we're going to trim that. And now we want to kind of go out and, or go in, I guess. We're going to go in 1/4 inch and stitch up to the top. There's really not a lot of room to go this way, and then we're going to go back down. So if I line that up, and then come up again. I'm not going to be able to go all the way to the top, so I'm going to go until my foot touches the stitching here. And then I'm going to go back on this, and it's going to be just a nice little detail. So that's what we've done in the pink part of the butterfly. So I'm going to travel along here and repeat myself on the other side. Now, you can travel without using the template, or you can use the template. I think it's easier to use the template. Now here again, we're going to stitch in the ditch. And you can either hold the template in your left or your right hand. I prefer to hold it in my left hand. I can hold it in my right. It's just more comfortable for me. Now we have a lot of fabric going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 pieces of fabric are coming together right there. So you may run into a little bump, but the way that we've pressed it, I think will help. Oops, I went too far. And now we're going to do an echo around. I need to use my 1/2 inch there. I'm doing a 1/4 inch echo. So stitching this way, if I have my foot is a 1/4 inch away from the edge, and the template has to be a 1/4 inch away from that. So that's why I use a 1/2 inch on the template when I'm going in this direction. And now we're going to come back down. So the foot, 1/4 inch, right? So it's a 1/4 inch to the needle and then another 1/4 inch to the template. And that's how I get a 1/2 inch, I mean a 1/4 inch stitching away by using the 1/2 inch on the spacing gauge. And then I go this way till I'm a 1/4 inch away. And then I'm going to go back up, go over here. Again, I'm going to come up until the foot touches these stitches on the right. And then I'm going to go back down. We're just adding texture. And now in this flowered part, I am just going to stitch in the ditch around the flowered part. And I could use a template to come down here, but. And I don't need to do this side because I've already done it. So I think I'm going to leave this alone and just do the pink. I'm just going to travel along the pink and not, because I'm going to do something else in the flowered section, so I don't really need to stitch in the ditch around it. And there's not a lot of room in this pink section to add anything, so I'm not going to. And I think I'll include this bottom part as well. Just stitch off. Okay. And then I can come up here, down here, and down And then I'm going to do somewhat of the same thing in this center that I did in the pink part up here. So still stitching in the ditch. And then we're going to come back down. I had to go all the way out to the point. And now I'm going to move up because I want to stitch inside here. So I'm going to come up here. And I was just going to kind of stitch around, but I want to see if maybe that'll fit in there. That will not. So I think I'm going to stitch. I'm just moving out until my template clears both sides, or my foot is on both sides. So it's touching the orange fabric on both sides. I'm going to stick this in. This is the Spin Effects number 7, and this is the 3-inch size. So half of that is 1.5 inches. And this is just going to give a little bit of texture to my wing down here. I don't think the 5 is going to fit. Yeah, it's a little too big. And I want to use the 5 in the upper wing. So we're just going to use, there we go. And I'm trying to make this even here on both sides. And I'm just eyeballing it. I'm eyeballing that this here and this orange over here is about the same distance on both sides. And then I'm just going to do this shape. And now I'm going to carefully stitch back. You could use your template to do that. There we go. And now I want to stitch this section. I'm going to do the same thing. Come out here. I'm going to use half of this one because what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch and then I'm going to stitch the other one, the 5-inch one, and then go back down. So I want to leave half of this open. So I'm just going to stitch one side, stop, put my 5-inch one in. Now see how that kind of it's not working? So I'm going to tilt it a little, right? And then I'll be able to get it. I want to make sure I don't want it to be 1/4 inch. I don't want my stitches to touch this edge right here. So that's why I'm using my 1/8 inch part of my spacing gauge. And then come around here. And And now I'm going to stitch back. That little clunk, clunk, clunk is the thickness of all of those pieces of fabric coming in together. Now, we're going to repeat the same thing on the left side. First thing we want to do is stitch in the ditch around the gold or the orange. All we're really doing is giving the butterfly a little bit of texture. It already has a lot going on. It helps if the stable tape is on the fabric and not on your fingers. And this is where we went, came out, and did the 3-inch spin effects. I got too many things in my hands. Again, trying to put it as evenly in the middle as we can. Go around. And then back to the center. And then stitch in the ditch. We didn't do this line here. So we're going to stitch in the ditch around and then come back. Oops. You could use that template. That would work. I also like to stitch in the ditch with this Ashley template. Oops. Got outside the butterfly there just a little bit. And this, we're going to go again until the foot touches both sides of the pink. So if I went further, my foot would be floating in this fabric, this flowered fabric, and I don't want that. Remember, we're only doing half of this size. Again, centering it as best we can. There's a little line right here so you can see when you're halfway through. And then put the larger one in and we have to tilt it a little bit. We just don't want the stitches to go outside the butterfly wing. And if you want to, you could measure this with your spacing gauge to make sure that you got it perfectly. But I think eyeballing it works. And that's been stitched all the way around. So I'm just going to take a couple of back stitches to lock it in and cut my stitches. Next up, I want to stitch in this area. And I'm also going to stitch down here. So we're going to start up here. And what I want to do is start, let's see, about a template's distance, the edge of the template away from the body of the butterfly right here. So I'm going to pull my threads right there. So my foot is touching or just barely touching. And I also want my foot in the center. This strip here is a 1/2 inch. So this is perfect. I can put my foot right in the center. And pull my threads there. And get them started. So I'm lining this up so that it's coming straight. I could have put antenna on this butterfly, but there's such a large space up here. Now I'm turning my template, and straight on it would be like this. It doesn't really matter. I can turn it this way or I can put it straight on. So I think I'm going to do straight on. And the only way I can tell you to line this up is to make it a 45-degree angle. And as you can see, there's space over here. So let's measure that. That's almost a 1/2 inch. So it's a little less than a 1/2 inch. From the edge of the pink to the edge of the template, it's a little less than a 1/2 inch. So, like a thread or two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to stitch to the pink, and then I'm going to go back. So yes, this is going to be double stitched. And that's going to be fine. And now I'm going to go on the other side. It's nice to have some kind of measurement. And just a little less than a 1/2 inch. I'm going to repeat what I just did. I'm going to stitch to the pink, and then I'm going to go back. I'm done, but I want it to be consistent. If you wanted to, you could double stitch the center part as well, which I'm not going to do, but that would look good. So let's go here. Come up and go back down to lock my stitches and then cut them. You can also lock them by going in place. So this is the top of the butterfly. And now I'm going to do the same thing down here, but I'm going to use the 3-inch size. And we are almost done with our butterfly. And this is not going to be a 1/2 inch. This is going to be just a little bit less than 1/4. Let's see what 1/8 of an inch looks like. 1/8 of an inch is too big. So this is just a little less than 1/4 of an inch. I suppose you could use a crosshair square and mark it. I just didn't find that to be necessary. Oh, we have to go over a little bit more so that it touches. We have to make sure. It can't be less than 1/4 of an inch. It has to be at least 1/4 of an inch. So it touches the polka dot fabric. Oops. There we go. And now we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side and do the exact same thing in the butterfly on the left side. So let's get that stitched out. I'm ready to quilt the center section of my piece here. And I want to put a butterfly in this area, and I also want to put a small spinifex, the 3-inch spinifex. So I'm going to start by trying to kind of lay out where my butterfly is going to go. And on this particular template, which I'll show you when I quilt it, you quilt and then you flip the template over and you quilt the other part of the butterfly. So I'm gonna, if I put my butterfly here and put the edge of the template up against this butterfly, it's going to stitch in 1/4 of an inch away from there, so that's not going to touch this, which is good. And so if I put my needle about there, when I flip this over, the butterfly ends up down here. I kind of want it over a little bit. So let's see. Maybe I try it here. And if I put this here and I flip it this way, same thing, I'm still not going to hit, and it's up just a little bit higher. So this second mark is the one that I'm going to use. I'm going to cross that one off, and that's the dot that I'm going to pull my thread on to stitch out my butterfly. But I also want to put a spinifex up here. So I'm using the circle crosshair square ruler from a previous box, and I'm going out to the second line here. Let me show you on this. If you can see, The first solid line is 2 inches. The next solid line is 3 inches, and that's the size that I want to stitch out. And I'm going to put this back here. That's going to be like that. I think the other thing I'm going to do is put a little line down here, and that way I know to line the template up that angle so that I don't end up going like this when I stitch it out. I wanted it this angle like that. Anyway, let's go back to the spin effect. So if I put this down here, my 3 is here. This is where my butterfly, but I want to leave room for antenna, so I'm going to move this up. And if I put it there, this 3-inch goes around this way. And I think I do want to kind of put it this way, though. That's where the center of my spin effects is going to be. And then I'm going to put some crosshair lines here. And then if I rotate this and use the 45-degree angle, let me show you here. This is the 45-degree line right there. So I can get 8 crosshairs on here for my spin effects. There we go. Oops, that's not right. This line isn't right. How did I do that? Oh. All right, I have to take those off. Let's see. This one comes off. This one comes off. That one comes off. And, well, let's just take them all off and start over. That was pretty funny. Okay. Let's let that cool off a little bit. All right, let's try this again. Put that up like there. That's the middle. There's my crosshair lines. And then if I put the 45-degree angle, which is this one here on top, there we go. And then move that to center. And that should be there. Now these are 8 crosshairs. There we go. So now I'm ready to take this to the machine and get it stitched out. I'm going to start with my spin effects first, and the reason I want to do the spin effects first is so that I can visually see where it ends when I do the antenna on my butterfly. So I'm going to pull my thread in the center here that I marked, and then I'm going to take a couple of stitches. And then slip my template in here. I always lower my foot before I place my template. If you place your template and then try and lower your foot, you could drop the foot on top of the template. Like if I were here and I went to lower it, I could run into trouble. So I always lower my foot inside the template and not exactly where it's supposed to go. And now I'm just going to do these 8 points. And I'm going to actually travel around the template. There is a little bump right here on the template. It's right there. And this is Spin Effects number 7, and it's 3 inches. And I just think it's a nice little addition to this blank canvas that I have here. I'm lining it up back here. And also the lines on the template are lining up on some of the other reference lines that I have. And we have just a couple more to go. And then I want to move these threads. I don't want to stitch over them. And then we'll trim this right here. And now we're going to do our butterfly. So I'm going to turn this around and show you this butterfly template. So here's the Butterflies in Flight template. And you have, let me make sure my hand's not in, there we go, let's try this. You have a line up here and a line right here, which is underneath my stable tape, which shows where the needle goes. You have this reference line here, which goes on top of previous stitches, so you can line your template up. You also have a line down here, which lines up on previous stitches. You have the needle slot here. You can either start down here and stitch around and come back, or you can start at the top. I like to start at the top so that when I do a complete butterfly, both sides of the wings, I'm at the top and I can do the antenna and then work my way down and do some embellishing. So I'm going to show you how I do that. The first thing I'm going to do is pull my thread in this spot that we marked just a little bit ago, and I'm just making sure that I'm in the one that I marked and not this one that I crossed off. So I used heat erasable marker on this. I live in the desert. It's never going to get that cold that the lines are going to come back. I haven't had a problem with them coming back, so I'm going to line my template up there. And I put this line down here. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just don't want it slanted like that, right? My butterfly is not going to fit. And this is a very big butterfly. There we go. And now I'm going to stitch starting with this curve here. There's a little hump right there. Come all the way around and stop where I started. If you don't stop perfectly where you started, it's going to be okay. And this is a big template. So I find that I move my hands a lot, and when I do that, I need to stop. If I don't stop and I try to move my hands while I'm stitching, I went past it a stitch, and that's fine. If I don't stop, and I move my hands, I tend to move the template, and that's not something you want to do. Okay, so now, remember those lines I showed you that are on the template? This is where they come into use. And no, I can't find my stiletto. We just had it. Well, here, let me use a bamboo stick. Oh, there it is. I covered it up with black paper. That's why I can't see it. All right, so I'm going to flip the template over. I'm going to put this line that's in the center up here. I'm going to put that where my needle is. I'm going to put this on what I just stitched. And this line down here is also going to go on my previous stitching. So that's how I line it up. Put that on the stitches, put this on the stitches, and as long as these are on the stitches and this is on the stitches, this doesn't perfectly have to be on that line on the top. It'll be okay. As long as these are lined up and this is lined up. And now I'm going to stitch the other half of my butterfly. I do want to get these threads out of the way though. There we go. Because I don't want to stitch on them. And now I have to line it up again. Let's see, maybe if I took the light off so that I can see better. Sometimes when you're stitching with templates and you have these reference lines, you can see a little bit better if you don't have so much light. And it's just a little bit more contrast because this is a light fabric. And here we go. Now I want these threads to come towards me. All right. Also on this template is a connector. It's the connector with the loop on it, but it makes really fun antenna. So let me see. I don't think I can go that high over here. So I can't. So I'm going to go, I can go to there. So I could make a little mark on the template. I don't know what I did with my little marker. See if I have another one. Nope, that's not it. I'm trying to find one that'll wipe off very easily. I can put this, if I make a little blue line right like that, that's not really showing up very well. Then when I turn the template over, I'll know where to put it. And then that way the antennae are the same height. So that was right under the foot. Okay, so I'm going to stitch up and then I'm going to come back down. And then that. And now I can see this little line right here. Put it down like that. It's kind of just even with the bottom of the foot. And then I'm going to stitch my second antenna. And there we go. Now I'm going to add some embellishment into the wings. So I want to stitch around here on the head. And I'm going to get out my spacing gauge and see if Ideally, you want to go on top of the stitches that you just stitched, but I think I'm going to have a problem with that. Let's see. Let's see what happens. For me, it's just going to be easier to go like this than to use the template. And then I'm going to stitch down a little bit, not far. So a little more than a foot, just a little bit farther than the foot. And then I'm going to take my butterfly wing that came out of the center, and I'm going to stitch that. I'm going to there we go. And then I'm going to take the next size down, which is in the butterfly wing template. So this is the template that comes out of the inside of the butterfly template. And I'm going to have to see if I can make a butterfly with that template as well. So there's that. And then I'm going to travel down here. And I want to be kind of even with this. Let's see if we can. It's about a ½ an inch from this break right here. That'll just help me when I go up the other side. And now this time I'm going to use the one on the butterfly template. There's two small ovals. And then I'm going to put the little tiny one right inside of it. So this is just embellishing the wings. And now I'm going to come down here. And you can use the template for this if you want to. But while I'm down here, I'm going to come out here just a little bit. And I want to actually use this part of the template. And I want to do a loop. And on this template, it works like the ones on the connectors. But if you don't have a connector, this here is where you stitch. This is where you're going to go. So if your template's at this angle, you're going to end up going out this way. So I want to line this up properly. And I want it to go so that it ends up coming off of my fabric altogether. So I'm going to put it about there. I'm going to stitch. Stop, flip the template, and there's lines on here that help you line everything up. And I'm going to stick that on there. That line goes up that way. And then I'm going to come off down here. I'm going to move my template just a little bit because I want it to go totally off of the piece. So there, just makes it look like he kind of flew onto our piece. Now we need to do this part. So I'm going to actually pull here between the head and the body of the butterfly. And then stitch down. Put in the big one. And if I was doing a bunch of butterflies on a quilt, like an all-over design or edge to edge, I probably wouldn't go to the trouble of doing all this embellishment inside the wings. But because this is going to be kind of showcased, in that you're really going to see this butterfly because it's darker thread than the scarf itself. I just think that it's a nice way to give it a little more pizzazz. Remember, this was about a ½ inch from there. And we need this one. And this one goes in there. Little tiny oval. And then, so that it looks consistent, I'm actually going to come down here. Again, you could use the template to do this. If you go really slow, it kind of works. And then I'm going to do some locking stitches. So I'm going to iron off these markings, and then I'm going to show you what the whole thing looks like. Here is the dresser scarf all quilted. You could add more quilting if you want to. I really kind of like it the way that it is. I like the way that the butterflies stand out. So we've used the Butterflies in Flight template to make the butterfly, and also the ovals that we put in the wings of the butterfly. We used this part, this connector of the template for the antenna on the butterfly. We used a Spinifex in the paper piece butterfly, in the wing, and also down here and up here. We use that. We also use Spinifex number 7 in the center block for this flower that's up here in the center block. And then I just dropped my 12-inch arc that we also used, the 12-inch arc in the butterfly wing. So whether you put this on a dresser or a sofa table or an entry table or a small kitchen table, I really hope that you enjoy making this.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today, Pam, and sharing that class with everyone. I actually do not see that we have any questions. So you did such an amazing job with just answering all the questions along the way and giving them a amazing detailing that there was no questions. So that's great.
I
So
know.
Yeah. So I did want to go ahead and share with everyone. I'm not sure if you got our email this week, but we do have some really great chances for you to win. So we are sharing with everyone. Number one, that it is National Sewing Month. So on our Facebook page, if any of you are on Facebook, you can head on over to our Facebook page and you can tell us why you love our Sew Steady Grid Glider, which is an amazing tool to be used for both any kind of sewing where you can get seam allowances, as well as being able to use it for all kinds of quilting. I saw one of our amazing partners in the industry. She was using it to do sashing super quick. She was using it to be able to create. All kinds of different binding, and it was like her favorite tool. So we're going to be sharing with you some of those awesome videos that we've had, like the likes of Alex Anderson, and so Caroline. So many amazing quilters out there sharing with us why they love the grid glider. So you're going to want to check out some of those videos this month. But if you want to win, then I'm going to post a link to that right now for you, because that is going to be something that you might want to go ahead and tell us why you want to win that amazing opportunity. And the next thing that you might want to win is the new fall quarterly club box. That is something that we're going to be giving away in our live. That's coming up in our live launch on the 18th, where all of our educators, including Pam, who's got several amazing projects coming up, will be sharing with all of you. So we hope you have a chance to join us for that. We did share that link, but I'm just going to say sign up to win on this one. And that is going to be given away on the 18th, along with several other opportunities and prizes that we are giving away in our summer partner giveaway. So if you haven't already, that was actually on the invite that we had for all of you today. Go over to the description of the class today, and there's a place that says enter to win our partner prizes. You can enter right there. I'll post a link right now as well. But if you enter to win our partner prizes, you are going to win all kinds of different goodies. We're announcing those winners during our live launch as well. So, we love giving away stuff here at So Steady. Pam. What do you want to win, Pam? Out of all the things that you know that we're giving away this quarter, what would you want to win?
The Elevate box.
Okay, well, yeah. You are a lucky winner of that because you work so hard towards it.
Winner, yay!
But
I
you
don't know.
could give
I
it
love the
away.
grid glider. I love the grid glider. It is almost always on. The only time I take it off of my machine is when I use my machine as a light box.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Otherwise, it just stays there.
And that is what we hear. It's just so easy. It's so convenient. So hopefully you have a chance to check out that opportunity to win. I did go ahead and post the opportunity to win our Churn Dash projects as well. So we are doing a Churn Dash challenge. That is, I've seen so many awesome Churn Dash projects over the last few months. So if you have made a Churn Dash project, whether it's the block in the box or one of the turned the practice panels into something cool like a pillow, or done your own Churn Dash quilt, if you have made a Churn Dash project, then we are encouraging you to submit it. Enter it into our Churn Dash challenge. You have a chance to win $75, $50, or $25 in gift certificates. So we're giving away 3 different gift certificates to our Society website. That could come in handy as we're heading into the holiday season. So check that out. That's a fun one. We're giving that away around August or October 15th. You have until the 1st of October to enter, and then we'll go into our are pulling. So excellent. Well, thank you again, Pam. Absolutely love this project. It's so fun, so colorful, and it goes right along with that butterfly theme. So we'll look forward to more awesome classes this week. Pam is doing a live on Friday. Pam, do you want to tell them what you're going to be sharing with everyone on Friday?
I'm going to show everybody the linear channel ruler by Sarah Diddy, which I think a
Oh,
lot of you probably haven't seen it. So
I think you're
it's
right.
just a straight ruler, but it's got a lot of nice little touches to it. So
Markings. Excellent. All right. Well, join us on Friday for Pam's first Friday with Pam, and we'll look forward to having her share that with everyone. That's going to be at 1 p.m. on Friday, Pacific Standard Time. So excellent. Well, have a wonderful afternoon, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another awesome class by Kathy Clausen. She'll be diving into one of our practice panels for this quarter. So we'll hopefully see you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Pam. Thank
bye.
you.